You're doing YouTube videos for real. I don't advise you do videos on this topic because last time I did a video on this topic, I got a strike and a week off, and you only get 3 strikes before you get kicked off, so fair warning. Click the links for alternative, Odysee, and BitChute, and thanks for the recent donations on crypto, or you can use coffee if you're more conventional. So Joe, carrots, horse food, Rogan. Water? Water goes in your radiator. It's to cool the engine. Versus CNN. At one time, there are some vegetables that some cultures view as animal fodder, and other cultures just view them as, I think, is it Brussels sprouts in some European cultures? Like, oh, that's cattle food. Like, no, it's chock full of vitamins and minerals. You should definitely be eating it. Okay, so Joe Rogan versus the world. I was going to say, does it feel like the mainstream media is lying to you? But call me Nostradamus, because I predict that a year from now, YouTube will ban channels that promote, in quotes, media trust hesitancy. I wish I was kidding, but I'm not. Crowder got hit because he reported on a story that showed a protected class engaging in malum in se acts, which they actually were engaging in. Reporting the truth, it turns out to be very problematic. I reported it on my second channel, which only has 200 subs, so it's, whatever happens to that doesn't matter. The best thing and really, whatever happens to this channel is like, oh, $22 last month. Like, all right, it's not the end of the world. The best thing for us is if Crowder, Mark Dice, Paul Joseph Watson, I, Hypocrite, Memology, Stick, Hex, and Hammer, and all the rest of those type of channels that appear to, like, they're trying to present the news from a different perspective. And the best thing for us is if those channels all got kicked off. YouTube is vile because it is the slowly boiling frog thing. First, they came for Alex Jones. No, by the time they kicked off him, they'd kicked off Soft, Nick Fuentes, The Way of the World, Black Pigeon Speaks, Red Ice, Duke, Taylor, Alsup, Vincent James, Worski, and like probably 100 others that I don't even remember. The legitimate right of center crowd has all been kicked off. I think there's like 1 or 2 channels still left on YouTube, and I'm not even going to say their names because for fear. They do live streams and they immediately delete them afterwards. So you go to their channels and like, they have no content, but they have 10,000 followers. How does that work? I guess live streams are a little bit less policed by the YouTube gods, or demons, really, to be accurate. So now they're coming for any right of center speech, which is fine. It's their platform, because right now there is a reasonable alternative available. Odysee is monetized, works pretty well. They take crypto and they take cash donations. And, it's only a matter of time before people look at them and go, okay, we can start advertising on Odysee. Gab and Gab TV have also started running advertisements from alternative businesses. Like, the only way to start a new thing is to start the new thing. It's like, yeah, you can go read some book about someone who went through the new thing, or you can just jump in and start doing it and, take that learning curve at 100 miles an hour. It's not that there aren't growing pains on these platforms, but the writing is on the wall for a lot of YouTube content, even Comicsgate, Phantom Menace. YouTube is Google, and Google is globalist. Everything globalist is cancer. Joe Rogan and the panic at CNN. The mainstream media meltdown. The mainstream media has abandoned any appearance at being impartial, fair, and unbiased. They may as well have just have a banner at the bottom of their screen paid for by Soros and the Rothschilds and the Open Borders Foundation. Hashtag the anti-white people. CNN isn't presenting an issue and covering it from both sides. That went out the window like 20 years ago. Anyone who goes against the narrative is a Hugo Boss wearing istophobe, because people who don't trust the media are obviously istophobes. There are 2 sides to every story, but there's only one side to a narrative. Someone like Joe Rogan drives the media absolutely crazy because he's legitimately not some far-right identitarian supremacist type whatever. Partially, to be fair, because wealth insulates him from the way of the world, like it insulates Don Lemon and the Sanjay character. He's a doctor. Well, he doesn't practice medicine. He's a TV guy. It's like two different things. Where all of them live, their neighbors don't have home invasions. When they hear a sound at night, they know it's the armed private security making the nightly rounds. For the rest of us, we are our own armed guards, even if you live in a nice area, because without border gates and armed checkpoints, the nice, safe area is connected by a road to a bad area, to paraphrase The Hobbit. Yeah, the mainstream is misrepresenting reality in a material way. That's for the algorithm. They have a narrative to push and are outraged when a serf dares to point out the nude king. The thing about the media is they seem to feel any alternative media is not legitimate. Even when the alternative media grows to be very large, it's still not legitimate for some reason. Because almost like by their definition, only CNN, MSNBC is the media, is the source of, I wasn't going to say the truth, but even they know it's not the truth. It's weird how like ONN and Newsmax and these alternative Breitbart type medias, and like those are mostly pretty milquetoast. OAN is definitely not milquetoast, but like those aren't legitimate sources of news. It's like, well, what makes them different than CNN or MSNBC? Because they're slightly right of center, and CNN and MSNBC are pretty far. Anyway, they feel like they're the ones who should filter and present the news narrative, and that any alternative perspective is istophobic hate speech. Because if you feel that you have the approved narrative, any deviation from that is hate speech. Mainstream media knows that they are far removed from the truth. They're not stupid, and they're not lying to themselves, but they also believe that there is a greater, higher truth, that while it is technically not as such, it is in the best interests of the peons who are too stupid to understand the multifaceted brilliance of the real truth. They must be shaded from it by Daddy CNN. Terry Pratchett summed up that concept in his Discworld books. I think it was called Small Gods, which I've reread several times. Excellent. When that Vanderbilt guy on CNN, this guy, what's his name? Cooper, had to get Sanjay on and whip him back to the plantation with the carrots are horse food concept. Things could not have been more obvious. He went on the show. He presented, he was given a gentle rebuttal by Joe Rogan, saying CNN knew that they were presenting a lie. Well, the thing is, there's a lot of substances that are used for mammals because they share, I guess, enough of a similarity. And more than just, water and carrots. But if something reduces inflammation in one mammal, it may be beneficial for another mammal. So this is obviously crafting a narrative. And why would why would the mainstream media do this? Why wouldn't they just be honest and present both sides of a story? And last time I did a video on presenting both sides of a story, the concept of the how inquiry, the analytical inquiry field works. I got a medical misinformation strike and a week off. So now that I think about it, I don't know if I should put this video on YouTube or not. This chilling effect on free speech. Well, YouTube's not a free speech platform. Yeah, I know, but it started off as something called YouTube. And then it got, I guess, bought out by Google some years later. And then it slowly worked its way into something where they want the future of YouTube to be like Philip DeFranco. And what's that channel, like Good Mythical Morning, where these guys just do, like, we're going to taste hot sauces today. Just the most asinine, normie stuff. And like makeup tutorials by BLT people, or new rap music videos, or showing like people's houses, and that's what they want YouTube to be. So it's like, essentially, it's this concept of web TV came out with this concept like 20 years ago. If they wanted to make television interactive, and it never really got off the ground because the tech was slow going, and there's a lot of other things competing simultaneously. And it's a great idea. Make TV interactive, but the thing is, they have to filter it so much, and turn off comments and filter words. It's like, well, it's not really interactive. Eventually, at some point, people are going to go elsewhere. So this concept of YouTube came up, where at first people would just upload their own clips, like, we'll be our own media, and then the mainstream media looked at YouTube and go, oh, we are losing mainstream revenue from the TV stuff, so we have to get on YouTube and at least upload clips and get advertised revenue from that, and that was wildly successful. And then they started to talk to Google, and they're like, yeah, we can't have these alternative, these Alex Jones types who are getting millions of views, and when CNN is getting like hundreds of thousands of views, and these alt guys, it's like, yeah, they're making us look bad, and they're also countering the narrative, because if you're CNN, you don't want somebody to. What was happening on YouTube was, like, CNN would present a scene. They would go up to a street scene, and they would claim that their presentation of it was organic. And they're there with their $50,000 cameras and boom mics and lighting and stuff to film this street scene that they said was organic, or at least they didn't say it wasn't. It was they call it manipulated scenes, which is, a lie, or it's a lie by omission, or it's a misrepresentation of reality. And so what people were doing is, someone standing around with a cell phone, and they're filming CNN manipulate the scene, and CNN would present this presentation and get like 600,000 views of, some protected purse puppy class was doing something, they're taking care of puppies, and then this guy with a $100 cell phone is filming this thing, and he puts it on YouTube, and it's like, oh, that gets 6 million views, and they're showing CNN lying. So it's like CNN and Google are saying, yeah, those kind of things, we're going to need to deboost those. Do you mean shadow ban them? No. Let's call it deboosting. We'll call it something else. So it amounts to the same thing. It's like CNN and Google are not presenting a fair and impartial view of the world. They're obviously, they're very, very, very far biased. But it's important to keep pointing it out and keep explaining to people who perhaps, have not been paying attention. So anyway, I don't know if I should put this on YouTube, but I don't want a second strike on this channel. I'll miss out on that $22 a month. Anyway, like, comment, subscribe. I'll see you guys next episode.